Well, hello everybody and welcome to the show. My name is Jared Lee and I'm joined as usual by my lovely wife, Jamie Lee. So Jamie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Jared. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It was a very busy weekend. Obviously, well, we're going to talk about today. We had D23 announcements and everything like that, but we also went to Universal and hung out there over the weekend and I was going to try and catch the D23 Expo on my phone, at least part of it, and then for some strange reason, I don't know what happened, but my phone died while we were at the park, which it's like a brand new phone. And I was like, why is my phone dead? So I caught I think the last 20 minutes of the show when it was going on. And then I did rewatch it on the way back home and dug into some stuff like that. So it was kind of interesting trying to catch that. And then just when your phone dies in this day and age, I'm just like, what do I do? Like, if I need
What's going on? What happens? Yeah.
Because like sometimes like you and I are, well, especially this trip for whatever reason, we were like separated a lot at various times.
I guess we were, yeah.
Which I honestly can say I don't like when that happens because then it's like a catch up stuff. But I was thinking like I looked down, I had 3% left on my phone and I didn't know where you were, and I was like, this could be really weird. Because I don't know what to do, but just I may be just standing by the front gates, just waiting until I see my family going through the park or something.
Where'd she go? Where is she?
Yeah. But no, he did catch that, and obviously that's what we're going to talk a lot about today.
Yes.
Not got a lot of fluff here because there was, well, we'll give our thoughts. Yeah, D23. Obviously, lots of announcements, lots of speculation.
And this is not Universal show, by the way. I think we should.
Oh, I should admit. I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. So we swapped this because obviously D23 was on Saturday, so we figured it'd be more prudent to do the Disney show today as the announcements are more fresh.
Yeah.
And then we'll switch the Universal show to Thursday, but then going forward we'll just switch it back.
Yeah.
This week will be a little bit different, but
so this is the Disney show. Welcome to the Disney show.
yes, I should have said that at the beginning. That's
okay.
a good point.
That's all right.
That's a valid point.
That's all right.
People might be confused there.
It's all right.
But yeah, so well, listen, Universal's reaction to some of this might be interesting. We'll see what they end up doing over time. But like I said, D23 reaction. We're going to talk all about what they announced, what we were right about, because we were right about a couple things. I was right about one thing that I was like, I thought it was kind of a long shot. Turned out to be true, at least that we know so far. And maybe there'll be other things that are announced. I kind of don't think this is everything that they have going on that they revealed, which I think is an interesting discussion around that. But before we get to everything about D23, what they announced, just want to remind everybody, if you are watching us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't know we had video versions of the show, go to YouTube at CTM Podcast. You can check them out over there along with show clips. If you're listening on good old trusty audio podcast form, we're on all of the major platforms that are out there. We ask you to just please subscribe and leave us a review if you are able to do so. But however you watch or listen to the show, glad you're here. We appreciate you. And we will get into, D23. So this is what this entire show is going to be about. It's just D23. Because obviously that's a bunch of news and not really much else stuff from Disney came out during all this.
And we are not going to focus on Disneyland or international parks or entertainment necessarily. This is strictly a Disney World show, so we're going to be focusing on Disney World.
That does not make sense. I would like to talk about Disneyland Paris for 3 hours, please. I do think it's wild that we still don't have a Lion King attraction in Animal Kingdom. I will say that much about it, but outside that, I have really no thoughts about what's going on in Paris too much.
Okay.
All right. So if you don't know, if you're new, like what the heck are you guys talking about here? D23 Expo is Disney's fan event. There's a whole bunch of panels and different exhibits, and people go there to sell stuff. It's part of a greater expo, but what the theme park audience is looking forward to is a Horizons. What do they call it? A pavilion?
They call it Horizons, like a Carousel of Progress.
Right, but is it like a pavilion? How do they describe it? Just
no,
a panel?
it's just like experience. It's a panel. It's like a big presentation.
It's an Apple event for theme parks, basically, is what it's become. So this year, Neil Patrick Harris hosted it. Before we go into it, what were your overall thoughts of the actual show itself?
So we always know like when the big stuff is going to be like talked about or announced, and this one was supposed to be it. And so when NPH said that, they said that he was going to be hosting, I was like, okay, he's like a song and dance man, so obviously that's going to be incorporated into it. So I guess I didn't expect it to be as much of a variety type show as what it felt like, as it turned out to be. Like, yes, we did get announcements and some discussions from like Imagineers and like innovators and people that are like involved in the projects, but there was a lot of singing, a lot of performances, and like I know it's kind of they're kind of fill it in a little bit, I guess. But there was a lot of times where I was just like, can I fast forward this?
Oh, I spent.
I was like, I don't know.
I'm actually kind of glad I didn't catch it live because, well, not only my phone died, but then we had hotel issues. We were trying to work out till like 1 a.m, so I just didn't have time to really watch it. So watching back, I talked to Vash from Vash Sky, and he was like, oh, when you rewatch it, just fast forward to 40 minutes in before they get to anything parks. And I was like, maybe he's like exaggerating. He was 100% correct. So I watched on the way back home, driving about a 2-hour drive. I think I hit fast forward about 75% of the time. And then have a park announcement, which a trend of this will be not a lot of details on a lot of this stuff. And then you would just, here comes a song and dance. And I'm just sitting here going, no, God! Just like, no, God, please, no. We need 2 songs by Sheryl Crow. And I'm like, no, we don't. No, we don't. We really don't need 2 songs by Sheryl Crow. I don't think we need 1 song by Sheryl Crow, but we have 2. So anyways, but
it's just also the format of the show. It's like, maybe it would just be a lot to hear just talking the whole time. So breaking up with like musical numbers in between would maybe like helped. This
was a complaint of the last one too. And I understand that. I understand you want to be like a super dry thing, but people are there for the theme park announcements is why they are there. So it reminds me of comedians who will talk about going to do stand-up gigs at corporate events and how terrible they are because the environment, they're not there to watch a comedy show. They're at some corporate shindig networking, and you're on stage being like, how about them apples? And they're just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So same thing with this. The audience, everyone's watching this because they want to hear what you have about theme parks, not to see, song and dance and like all this other. So like they were going for the variety show feel, which in any other format might have worked. It just felt clunky and weird.
Yeah.
It was just odd.
But we're talking about what was announced, and that's the exciting part.
Yes. So we're going to talk about what they did announce. We're going to do this by park. I think it's probably the best way to approach this.
Okay.
So which park do you want to start with, Jamie?
Let's just start with good old MK. Old Magic Kingdom.
Right off rip, going Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before getting into the announcements, I just want to say that they had a lot of information available at the Imagineering Pavilion at the Expo, like a huge amount of information.
Well, they had models and stuff that the media was
They had concept art, they had models, they had demonstrations, they had other information they did not talk about in the Horizons panel. So some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today was actually from the pavilion, which is, I think it's funny. So if you didn't actually go to the announcement, you could probably find out a lot of stuff about the announcements at the Imagineering Pavilion itself. Yeah, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Carousel of Progress details. And again, this section that we're going to talk about is about what we got right in our predictions. So this is what we're starting with. Carousel of Progress, we knew it was going to be updated. That was already previously announced. But now we know that Bryan Cranston and Jamie Lee Curtis will voice the characters of the dad and the mom.
Yeah, that I really don't know how to feel. I was just like, okay. Like, Bryan Cranston can kind of voice anything. Jamie Lee Curtis is interesting. Although, if they really want to sell this new refurb, they should send Jamie Lee Curtis out there like she did for Freakier Friday in that outfit she wore for those interviews. I'm like, you get some attention.
Okay.
Get a little attention out there if you go.
All right. This is fine. I mean, I will say, like, I know there's like a whole thing online about people being a little upset that they're not using voice actors anymore for things. They're just getting celebrities in place of being voice actors.
It goes along with using IPs for everything. You just go for recognizable things nowadays.
Yes. And I'm not saying that they won't do a good job, but I would like to see more like voice trained actors, in roles like that, because they could also be great. You know what I'm saying? And even though their voices may not be as familiar as Bryan Cranston and Jamie Lee Curtis, this is fine. This works. It'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. But we also got a peek of the 1980s scene that they're going to use. Looks pretty 80s.
Yeah.
Looks pretty 80s.
Which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. And then again, it was just concept art, and there's nothing actually like built yet. But they also said they're going to use props found in the Walt Disney Archives and other replicated items in the attraction, like in the intro scene with Walt Disney. So like some of the stuff will be like from his desk.
Yeah, they had no update about the Walt animatronic. Nothing mentioned about that.
Anything about that.
And they didn't really, during the actual presentation, they barely mentioned this. It was just a very quick little thing that they were going to be the voiceover people. And then it was like, here's a song and dance. You're like,
yeah.
Okay. Which is kind of the ongoing theme. My thing is still with this. I really hope they don't mess this up. One of my questions about modern day Imagineering, and there are some stuff recently where it's like, okay, I'm encouraged by some of the stuff you've been doing, but like going in here to some of these really classic attractions, like, I hope you understand the gravity of this, of what you're doing here. But obviously they're going down this route, but we didn't get any more details really outside of what they already, other than Bryan Cranston and Jamie Lee Curtis are voicing them. That was it.
We just got a confirmation that it is opening spring of 2027. They did say that, so at least that is happening.
One of the few things that we got actually opening timelines for, because a lot of this stuff,
that is correct.
A lot of this stuff was not given any timelines on, but yeah, so they did have that.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, well, here we'll talk about Piston Peak, because that's obviously really big topic here, replacing the Rivers of America. That was announced at the last, that part wasn't announced at the last D23. That was the Dark Monday that followed, where it was like,
oh my gosh, that's true.
That was exactly, they announced.
They didn't say anything.
Here comes the Cars Land. Everyone's like, oh, then on Monday they're like, it's taking the place of Rivers of America. Peace. And there's just like, they obviously weren't going to go on stage and say that. But we did get some more, like, they did have a full model there. A few more details about, and Jimmy will talk about what they did show about some of the attractions that are coming to this land.
Yeah, so main two things they talked about were the spinning cars attraction, which is, I guess if you're going to categorize the attractions, you have A attraction, attraction A, attraction B, and B is like the, I guess, lower tiered one. So attraction B is supposed to be like a spinning cars attraction, kind of.
It's a combo of aliens, swirling saucers, and teacups. It's kind of what this ride system, kind of the combo of.
Just more spinning rides that I really
flat spinning rides. Well, and like one thing about like when they show the model of this looks beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. My issue with this is still when they announce this, I'm all for a national park land and Frontierland. I think that makes sense. Where you lose me is just the googly-eyed cartoon cars in this. In Frontierland. Like, it still doesn't make sense to me. But I will say the land itself, when you just look at it by itself, does look really good. But I can't say that I personally think Miss Fritters is a great choice here.
So it's called Miss Fritters Daredevil Spin-Along.
Like Miss Fritters? So from Cars 3?
From Cars 3. Yep. She owned the Demolition Derby thing. And she's going to, the cool thing too, though, she will be a big animatronic in the ride.
Yeah.
So that is also kind of cool. And she's basically a yellow school bus.
I mean, I'm guessing they went with that because it's a mud derby type thing in Cars 3, and this is all about dirt racing. So I'm guessing that's why they went that route. But
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Kind of. Miss Fritters in Frontierland. I'm like, how does this make any sense at all? But okay. But in the land itself, you're like, okay, we'll see. But it's going to be this is the very kiddie attraction in this land for sure.
For sure. And I guess the attraction A, the main attraction.
I think you would call it Tier 1.
Tier 1, if you will. Official name for it is called Cars Ridge Run Rally. And this is kind of what they say about it. It says, the course sends guests climbing toward the mountain's snow-covered summit. From there, riders descend through a series of dips before finishing with a run through a geyser field. The geysers will appear to chase guests toward the mountain's largest geyser, and the course then loops back for a sprint to the finish line. Lightning McQueen and Mater provide commentary on the race from the finish line. So you can hear them speaking, I guess, as you're on the course.
I'm guessing. I don't know who else they'd be commentating for other than people just watching.
Right.
Or in the line, I guess.
The ride vehicles will respond to actual conditions on the track, not be like simulated, if that makes sense. But they are similar to off-road type of vehicles, and they can do this in the rain.
You know what's funny about that, which is nice, and you can say Minecart Matt said the same thing. It got recently said where that can run in the rain. How often, though, does it rain in Florida without lightning? I'd say at least 70% of the time, lightning is accompanied with the rain, typically speaking.
Sometimes, yeah, that's a good point.
Rain itself, I suppose, will not make this inoperable. So there's
right.
that. Now, one thing that has shifted on this, initially this was going to be like a dual racing type of ride like they have out in California.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
That is not the case now. This looks like it is single file. There was a patent for this, like, it looks like you can choose different paths to go sort of thing. So I think that'll be in this. But they said it was going to be kind of bumpy on the way up, and then you get to the snow-capped mountaintops, and then on the way down, it's much more bumpy. So I think it's not as much about speed on this as it is sort of, the bumpiness, outdoorsy side of it and things like that. So, I mean, again, from what they showed us, the ride itself, it looks pretty cool.
I think it looks cool too.
I mean, like I said, looking at the land just on its own, I'm like, okay, this looks pretty cool. And again, a lot of the, they're showing some more of in the model. You can kind of look through things, some of the waterfalls they have. Not as much water as they kind of initially said there was going to be, I will say. But there is some waterfall features and things. But yeah, my condition's still the same. But I'm torn out because I'm like, our son's going to love this land.
He will.
As will a lot of kids. It's just I'm always going to be the one being like, how does this make sense into a Frontierland setting? Unless what I think is going to happen is Frontierland. So this is what you're looking at. Does this land become to make sense for Frontierland, or more than likely does now Frontierland try and make some sense of this ride in its land now? Because I think Frontierland is going to change what that actually is in the future, would be my guess. Or they just simply say, this is going to make a bunch of money. We're not going to explain it too much to you. Because it wouldn't be the first time they've done this either. I mean, you look at does Frozen really make sense in the Norway Pavilion? There have been some question marks of this stuff in the past. So I suppose that is another thing you could look at. But yeah, I mean, one thing they did drop in this though, they said Liberty Square is safe.
Yep.
Which I think also goes into, I think Josh D'Amaro is much more aware of the chatter, we'll just say, amongst the fan base, because there's another example we'll talk about in a moment of one of the things they announced was really refuting rumors that are out there. I feel like they knew that this was a rhetoric out there. People were talking, so we had talked about it as well. What are you going to do with Liberty Square? Mm-hmm. So them coming out and saying that, at least for the time being, it is safe. I thought that was interesting. I was like, well, somebody's listening. Somebody's listening to kind of what people have been speculating out there to actually address that on stage.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm excited for especially the Cars Ridge Run Rally, not the spin along thing because spinning is not my thing, but I'm excited to see what happens with this. Obviously, this is years away.
No opening timeline given on this.
Nope, and I didn't think there would be, to be honest.
No, well, and they've had some issues with the construction on this, with the rivers flooding over and over again and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I will contend that this is closer to the 2030s than probably they would like to say.
Okay.
Well, and staying in Magic Kingdom, let's talk about Villains Land. Now, this, ironically enough, they probably gave the most information about this land, which is the furthest out. Now, I think the reason they gave as many details as they did, and Bruce Vaughn himself said on stage, there's been a lot of rumors out there about what this land is. And we're here to set the record straight, which I had said before this is probably what they're going to do, because that rap article came out, said this was going to be much more like family friendly leaning. It was going to feature like a Kronk coaster and stuff. People were like, wait, what?
Yes, yeah.
Now, to this credit, Jude the Disney dude told me months ago that wasn't the case. So shout out to him. He was completely right about this, that the plans for this have been locked in. But they did give us not only more descriptions about the land, but some of the rides in here.
Yeah. So the official name is just Villains Land,
which I think is a good move. No need to go overcomplicated with this. Everyone's going to call it Villains Land anyways.
Yep.
You don't have to go with, it's like Galaxy's Edge. It's Star Wars Land.
Yep.
Like, Villains Unleashed Majesty. You could see him going this really, it's just like, okay, Villains Land. And they even said because the other lands in Magic Kingdom are, Fantasy Land, Tomorrowland. And it's like, okay.
Villains Land. Perfect. It's fine. So the story of the land, I think is kind of interesting. And I'm going to take this from Disney Parks blog directly. And so this is a synopsis. It says, in many fairy tales, the real journey begins when you stray from the safe path and instead turn towards the vast, foreboding forest. If you dare enter the forest of Villains Land, you may soon come across a wishing well that has been torn asunder. Under most circumstances, a wishing well would indicate pure and good energy at work. But something dark happened to this one. Once upon a time, someone made an evil wish here. A wish so evil, it corrupted the stone and broke open the structure, spreading the well's poisoned magic throughout the forest. But of course, this sinister setting is tempting for those with wicked intentions. So one by one, the villains have come here to try and claim the last of the wishing well's power. Villains Land will be shaped by those who have used the dark magic to conjure the perfect new layers for themselves. These mighty fortresses and gleaming palaces not only reflect the personality of the villains who own them, they invite guests into a tantalizing treasure trove of treats, trinkets, and more temptations. I love this concept.
listen, there is no reason to overcomplicate what this needs to be. Like, people just want to see villains be villains.
Yes.
And so, like, this idea of a corrupted wishing well.
It's
a good idea.
Great.
I mean,
love this concept.
That is something you would see. And I think what people mostly wanted here is a corrupted, almost fantasy land, which this seems like what this is.
But you actually, as you walk into Villains Land, you're going to see the well.
Right.
Which I think is awesome. Like, it's like it sets the story up, and then you go in and you're going to see the rides and the other stuff, which we're going to talk about in a second.
It's also interesting. They mentioned Dr. Facilier is going to be part of this.
Yeah, they did.
Which I do think it marks a little bit of a change here, because if you guys remember, Tiana's Bayou Adventure does not feature Dr. Facilier, which that is the movie he is from.
Yeah.
A big part of that. And one of the things that came out is they did not want to feature him due to their, I guess, hesitations about voodoo and how
his
that
connection to voodoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently, and which I even said at the time, that doesn't make any sense because he's featured in the Halloween parties every single year.
Right.
And all this stuff. But now he is going to be in Villain's Land. He's not going to be in Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but he's going to be in the land right next door to it. But I imagine they're not going to reference voodoo. But hey, Dr. Facilier is going to be part of Villain's Land. And so I do think that's a little interesting little change in maybe a direction they're taking some of these things. Or not being so overly sensitive about everything, because villains are villains.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't have to be. I also like the idea this doesn't seem at this point to be misunderstood villains. This is just villains.
No, they're just there.
You don't have to justify to me why Ursula is bad. Just Ursula's bad.
Well, it's a nice story because, like you said, it's simple. They just you guys just want to see the villains being villains.
Yes,
and
you don't have to make
sense.
this. This is the one they have to get right out of anything they're doing. The most anticipation. Keep it simple. As Dwight Schrute said, keep it simple, stupid. You don't have to go crazy with this. And and it seems like this is kind of the route they are taking with this, which I think is a good move.
Well, we did get confirmation that there are 2 attractions.
Which a little.
I wish there were more.
Well, Cars area is 4 acres with 2 attractions. This is going to be like up to 14 acres with only 2 attractions.
But I will think they have more experiences than just attractions.
Well, they
here.
alluded to that much as well.
So the 2 attractions, I'll talk about. Okay, the first one is a Maleficent themed kind of family-ish roller coaster. I guess like family, like height-wise, through her Briar around the mountaintop fortress.
I think this will be kind of closer to a Hagrid's, maybe. If you look at some of those turns,
really?
It could. No, I don't.
I bet not Hagrid's. I bet like Hiccups.
Well, Hiccups is very Hagrid's-like. I'm just saying in terms of what people know. I think it's going to be closer to that than it is like a Slinky Dog. But you can probably somewhere between those two would be my guess. So you're not going to be any inversions in this. But
no.
It looks pretty great what they're showing here. It does have a lot of the concept and the concept art there with like these jagged rock edges. You're going around. This kind of goes through, it seems like the entire land, which one thing we did hear about them looking at Isle of Burke, what's one thing Hiccups does? Kind of goes through that entire land, gives it kinetic energy. That's what this one does here.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good move to do it this way. But I looking at the coaster and what they showed, I'm like, okay.
I'm also not surprised that it's Maleficent themed. I think we kind of figured all along that she was going to be a big focus of Villains Land because she's one of the most popular villains, I think.
She's like the most popular one.
Yeah.
Like, probably pretty by far, I would say.
So it just makes sense to have her on this one. So I was excited about that. The second attraction is a Magic Mirror Evil Queen Dark Ride that takes guests into the catacombs and through the magic mirror into the mirror realm.
This also looks pretty promising. Now, this is not a boat ride. There is some.
So it looked like it was in the concept art a little bit. I was like,
they have gone out of their way to say it is not a boat ride.
Okay.
There is speculation that this is like a scoop vehicle type ride, kind of like Spider-Man and IOA or some of those, or is this a trackless system that utilizes fog to kind of hide elements? I think they may go there trying to seem like it's in water, but it's not in water. But
the vehicles did look like a scoop vehicle.
A little bit they did.
Tiered up like
but
that.
It's not a boat vehicle if you look at it. So it's not a boat ride.
Okay.
So I think there is, but they did show a little bit of fogs and other elements that might hide some of the, if it is of a track or whatever it is. But the story of it, I think sounds pretty cool.
Again,
like people like their dark
cool.
rides, you know, the kind of going with what works, a coaster around Maleficent's castle. a dark ride going beneath it in the catacombs. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Like, don't know about the ride system on either one they're going to use. But again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel on this stuff necessarily.
And they have many years to reveal this information to us. You know, they didn't give us a time limit or a time that this is going to open either yet. So,
no timeline.
Long ways away here. But they did confirm that Cruella de Vil will have a lair in the land.
Which she kind of caused them a headache because during the presentation, she made some joke about her getting her own ride.
She's not.
She's not. But people were like, wait, is she getting a ride? And they had to come out after the fact and be like, hey, no, it's not a ride. It's a layer. Now, what does layer mean? Does that mean a meet and greet? Does that mean like a lounge? I kind of think it may be a lounge.
It could be kind of just like it's her own little
section.
Well,
remember they did, for the Halloween parties before COVID, they had a Cruella de Vil hideaway layer or something. That's the first thing I thought of. I was like, I think this might be, and again, if they do a villains themed lounge, which I imagine they would, it would be insanely successful.
Oh my gosh, for sure. You mentioned Director Facilier will be there as well. They didn't confirm any other villains besides that, but they did say that the land is in size and scale similar to Galaxy's Edge. So if you imagine like how much they fit into there, that's kind of what it'll feel like here.
I will also say, if you're trying to sell people, hype up a land, do not use Galaxy's Edge as the reference for this.
It's just saying the size and the scale.
I understand.
That's all they're saying.
But don't bring up Galaxy's Edge as like, it's like immediately you're like, no, don't do this, don't do this. I think, again, they were probably talking about the size, but still.
That's exactly what they're talking about.
I know, but when he said that, I'm like, don't do that. There's plenty of other examples you could use. Don't use Galaxy's Edge. That would be a bad example, personally speaking.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that's the size we're looking at. So you can kind of get an idea of how much stuff they can fit into it based on what we know about that. So,
I mean, do you think you like the coaster idea and everything like that?
I do. I love the ideas. I love everything. Looks great. And again, we're getting very like little information. So I do like the story of the land a lot. So if they keep with that, I'll be happy.
The story seems solid, simple. The rides here, and there will be more things. I think some people are going to be there were a lot of rumors out there, 3 or 4 attractions in this land. I suppose that could change. It's far enough away. But funny enough, again, we got the most info about this. Everything else is, and even this was kind of surface level. But I imagine that they were going to go into a few more details here due to that article that came out. And they were like, okay, we're going to let everybody know this is the way we're going to kind of like squash all that discussion and things like that. But a lot of this stuff is very, very, very surface level in terms of what they actually revealed. But I will agree. Villains Land, farthest away, probably opening sometime in the 2030s. It looks cool. It looks cool. And eventually they're going to have an in-park hotel back here too. So that's another thing to keep in mind that they'll eventually do.
Alrighty.
But that was basically everything they had for Magic Kingdom. Let's move over and talk about Epcot. Again, we're talking about things that we predicted that ended up being true. There's some other stuff we'll talk about that ended up being surprises here. Now, this one being accurate, I can't say was a huge rumor before because I kind of speculated this could be the case just off of sort of like reading between the lines of things. And then there was that announcement like a week ago about a show based on this ride. And I was like, that might actually be a little bit more evidence that this is happening. And then they randomly dropped that Spaceship Earth is getting an update.
Yep. It's coming. Thank goodness, because it needs it.
But all they said about this was, again, very few details. No timeline on this at all. They said that the overall message of Spaceship Earth was about communication. And that this new version was going to be 100% Epcot, or classic Epcot is what they said. And that this was going to be about human connection. I don't really know what that means.
I mean, communication is part of connection. So I guess they'll just go a little more broader.
I would like them to explain what they think. That's what I want. I'm not going to assume, because sometimes when they say these things, I'm like, what do you exactly mean by that? But they're going to go in and update these show scenes, and I'm imagining adding new ones and things. Obviously, this was initially supposed to happen in 2019 when they kind of revealed this, and Epcot's overhaul. This part got scrapped, so they're going back in here to do this. Again, I love this ride. Just don't mess it up. Keep it simple. You don't have to go crazy with this. You don't have to. There's no need to go in here and completely gut the whole thing and change it. Just some updates. The finale scene, like you don't have to do a lot here necessarily. have it where the picture actually the camera takes your picture when you're going through here, stuff like that. But again,
can we have the AC go up a little bit, please? Because it's always stifling hot in there.
That they're not going to do.
Well, no,
I don't believe that they're going to do that. But yeah, they basically had this little reveal, and then it was like cut to a song. That was it.
Yeah.
It was like what?
It was pretty quick. Yeah,
it was very quick, almost like offhandedly quick, but not even the most quick. What's another one later on that was not even the quickest thing they announced with literally no details about. But that was kind of the theme of this. But yeah, and I think one thing I will say, Spaceship Earth, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to refurb because how are you going to get stuff in that building? There is a service elevator. I'm very curious about the timeline of this. I kind of think this coincides with Epcot's 50th, which is probably
It's in 2032.
Yeah. I think you're, at the very least, I think it would be open by then.
So you're thinking 6 years?
Well, they never even said when they're going to start on this.
No. Again, yeah, nothing concrete plans as far as like when they'll start or when it'll open, which whatever. More blue sky.
I mean, if you think they don't start construction for a year, maybe 2 years, yeah. I mean, I think they got to be looking at the 50th and be like, we want this and another thing. We'll talk about that. They would like to be ready for that. Is kind of my hunch there. Put it that way.
Yeah.
All right, we will circle back to Epcot about another surprise thing there, but let's go over to Hollywood Studios to talk about Monstropolis because they did have some updates about Monstropolis.
So we will be getting a phased opening starting in 2027. And that means that the theater show, the dining experiences, and the gift shop will open in 2027, but not the Doors coaster. That will come later.
That doesn't surprise me. And what's going to be interesting is I think both Tropical Americas and this land are going to open in phases. I'm curious about the marketing that's going to be around this because they did this with Galaxy's Edge. If you remember, Rise of the Resistance did not open with that land. That was a big criticism of that. They were just like, and I remember being their opening day and being like, it just felt like an incomplete land.
I get that, but at the same time, it's like, if they're already done and they're just waiting on the roller coaster and it's going to take another, I don't know, like 6 months or more, like, why not open the rest of it? Like, give something for people to do. Yes, you can't go to the roller coaster, but I'm like, okay, enjoy the dining, enjoy the shopping, enjoy the show. Okay.
No, I don't disagree with that, but I obviously think they're doing this because they want some of these new things to start opening.
Sure.
Undoubtedly, to try and drive up attendance. I just wonder, are people going to plan? Are you going to spend the money it costs to go to Disney to go to an unfinished land? I think this will appeal more to pass holders and locals to come check this out. Check it out earlier. But basically, before the coaster opens, it's going to be the show in there and a bunch of places to eat.
Pretty much.
That's basically what you're going to be looking at in this land. I'm sure they're going to have some other stuff here and there, but it's not going to be heavy on actual like attractions necessarily.
Yeah. They did confirm what the dining experiences will be. And the first one is Archie's Scare Pig Pizza, which is replacing Pizza Rizzo's. And Archie is the six-legged Fear Tech mascot frequently borrowed by mischievous Monsters University students. Which
I have no idea who that is.
I have not seen Monsters University, so I don't know who that is.
I don't think most people have seen Monsters University.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's that. And then they did confirm Harryhausen's is replacing Mama Melrose, and it's a sushi style restaurant, Japanese style, Asian inspired. And the sushi chef, owner, and octopus Harryhausen will be an animatronic in the ride. And it's actually done because they did a video about it, and you see him moving around the background, and he's moving around. He's ready.
I don't know if that's the one that they have one of those in another park.
Oh, they do?
I'm wondering if
I thought that was him.
I think it was. I want to say it's Tokyo, maybe.
Okay, so maybe they're just gonna be like, hey,
but
here it is.
I think that's a cool thing. You'll see. Now, one thing I will say about this, I think this is gonna be a very pricey thing because they said this is an intimate. You take your schnookums and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little up there in pricing, if I were to guess.
I mean, okay, it looks pretty cool. It looks like a cool like. I
mean, it looks like from the movie.
Oh,
which
absolutely.
Is obviously what they're going for.
It's perfect. And then the Globe Theater will have a show called Welcome to Monstropolis, which is based on the original song written by Jared's favorite composer, Randy Newman.
Didn't sing your song. At least he's not singing it, I suppose.
They came out and they sang it and at the Horizons experience, and they talked about this first time he's written something for a theme park. I'm like, okay, great.
I guess there you go.
But
Anyway, yeah. I mean, the thing is, everything else except for the Doors coaster is just a reskin. So this area is realistically never was going to take that long to do.
Right.
Very similar to the Tropical Americas as well. So I think this is one reason why it's opening in sections. I kind of wonder if all these lands they open end up opening in sections.
Very possible. Question: Do you like Monsters more than Muppets?
Honestly, I'm kind of indifferent on both.
On both.
I mean, I probably have more nostalgia for Muppets because I kind of grew up with it a little bit more and stuff like that. But I've never been a huge Muppets fan. I mean, I will say the Door Coaster, they did show a little bit more of a better animation of that. Where you're going to see, they did say that Door Coaster, you're going to go 40 feet in the air in 4 seconds, and the lifting part when you get on there. That is what they said.
Okay.
So it's going to lift you up pretty quick. Obviously, suspended ride. Not a lot of details still. They are moving on progress there, but that coaster is going to take a little bit to get done, and then you got testing. So, and they kind of had the offhanded remark. They were just like talking about it. And they had 2 Imagineers in there talking. They're like, we're thinking, they said something about the land's coming along really well. The Door Coaster is, it's still coming. It's still a little further down the road. How about we just open this next year? And everyone's like, yeah, I guess. And then that was it. That was all they said. So it's like, is that early? Is that late? I imagine late in 2027.
I think whenever they announced them right initially, they had put it out there they were going to open it in 28. So I believe that's when the coaster will open.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like if they're going to open in 2027, yeah, for sure.
One thing I will say though is you look at the Hollywood Drift, Hollywood Studios coaster out there, and all the testing issues they ran into with that. It's sometimes this is why you do testing. Sometimes it takes a little bit because you got issues that arise and things. This is a new coaster Disney's never done, so I'm just saying it might need more testing than a typical ride that they do, but that is also why you do testing to make sure it's safe. But yeah. I mean, 2028 could be a realistic thing for the entire thing, but I would think late in 2028 if that's the case.
I guess we'll hopefully find out eventually.
Well, eventually we'll find out.
I mean, eventually they'll announce it.
If it's 2029 and it's not open yet, that'd probably give us a pretty good indication.
I mean, like, if we'll find out more information, like, from, like, Disney Parks or something.
We'll talk about this at the end. I'm wondering if they're taking a different approach to this stuff, which I think would be a better move. Which, in summary, is not giving you a whole lot of details to dig through why they build it.
Maybe.
I kind of wonder if that's kind of happening here, but
maybe.
Yeah, they did, and like a lot of this they already kind of shown before, so there wasn't a lot here that was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting that. Kind of again filling you in a little bit more details of what's going to be in here.
Right.
All right, we'll move over and talk about Tropical Americas and some of the details they revealed here. A little bit, I will say, obviously, I think this is one of the soonest opening, or at least part of it. So they did have a few more details about this.
First thing they talked about was the Indiana Jones ride. We did get an official name. It's called Indiana Jones and the Myth of the Jade Serpent.
It's got to be a snake.
Always snakes. We also learned that Harrison Ford's face is being used for the model of the animatronic, which I guess is the first time he's done this.
It is the first time.
Which is funny.
The one in Disneyland is not his voice and is not his actual face.
Okay. But to be fair with that one, you don't get close enough to really see it in like super, super detailed. So maybe they just didn't like need it. But yeah, they showed us how what his face is going to look like kind of in the model. And I think you had said it takes place between Crusade and the next movie, Kingdom of Crystal Skull.
What movie?
I know you don't acknowledge that movie. So after
there's the Indiana Jones trilogy. Are they extending this story?
Oh my gosh, you're so funny.
I'm not being funny. I'm serious. Those movies do not exist in my canon. But that rumor has it that this ride is existing between Last Crusade and a fan project that was made that I don't think went very well. I think there were a couple of those.
Anyway, so maybe he's not going to be in his 80s in the ride. He'll be in like his 50s?
It's supposed to take place, I believe, somewhere around there.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They did get Harrison Ford to actually, they paid him enough money to film a little thing on an iPhone where he's like, "It's me, Harrison Ford.
Right.
You're using my face."
You know Harrison, you pay him enough money and he'll do something.
I love Harrison Ford for being a grumpy old man and not caring. One of my favorite things of his ever was he was at, I think it was the premiere for the Captain America movie where he played the Red Hulk. And he clearly had, who knows? He's been known to partake in some herbal remedies, we'll put it that way. And who knows? But anyways, he they asked him, like, who's your favorite? Something about the MCU details. He's like, I have no idea. And like walked away. And I'm like, I respect so much. He's just like, give me my money. I want to go fly my planes and get me out of here. And that's kind of what he did.
That is. For the attraction, we have a story officially. It says, guests will rendezvous with Dr. Jones, who is exploring the mysterious temple near a once water-filled cave called a cenote? I don't know. Per local legend, the area leads directly to the Maya underworld, and it's protected by the serpentine creature called Tsukán. During their adventure, riders will face perils like monstrous bats, larger-than-life scorpions, and what else? Snakes. There you go. That's the story.
I mean, this is where Dinosaur was.
Yes.
They showed some of the sculpture and what this is going to kind of look like. That part looks really good. It looks solid. I think it's the same ride track that Dinosaur always was, at the same ride in Disneyland for Indiana Jones. So I think, again, this is an easy win. If you just put Indiana Jones in here, make it anywhere close, as Tony Baxter did the Indiana Jones out in Disneyland. You get close to that, this is going to be a solid attraction.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be popular, I'm sure, and everybody loves Indiana Jones, right? Like, everybody loves him.
Except for people that make the new movies.
Oh my god.
I'm not kidding. They clearly don't like Indiana Jones. They're like, hey, Indiana Jones has a kid. He's done. What about the next movie? How about him being just a really disheveled, old, sad man? You're like, this is not what do you hate him? No, we love Indiana Jones. They're like, I don't think you do, but supposedly, yeah. I love Indiana. I love the 3 Indiana Jones movies. They are fantastic. Right off into the sunset with Sean Connery. How else are you going to end a trilogy? But
you're funny.
I'm just being honest about my thoughts. But yeah, they had the most about that and some updated concept art here and there with some of that stuff.
Moving over to the Encanto section, I guess. The Casita attraction, we've got an official name for that. It is Antonio's Fiesta de Encanto.
Which is no surprise that they were going to use Antonio's storyline to tie this into Animal Kingdom.
Correct. Basically, the ride or attraction takes place on the day that he's receiving his gift, which is the ability to communicate with animals.
That seems like a terrible gift, by the way. It's bad enough listening to people. Like, there's a bunch of animals. Like, who knows what they're talking about? It's like, oh my gosh.
They did say that a lot of the voice actors from the film will be reprising their roles in the ride. There's also no height requirement, so it's for everybody.
That part is very interesting.
Why?
Well, no height requirement. If you look at the show building on this, there's not more than likely, I would not imagine, obviously not super thrilling here. Not going to have probably some drops. They just had that patent that was filed about projections making it seem like you're climbing and descending, but you're actually not. I think they may be utilizing it on this.
Oh, okay.
If I were to guess. There are some questions around, and I think there's some evidence to point to when you look at the models and things that this is not going to be a trackless ride system, which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think, I think people love the trackless stuff, but that also has a lot more maintenance and it goes down a lot more. And one thing I will say, and I don't know if this is a change from who knows, but Thomas Masloom, who's the head of experiences, is very keen on operations and efficiency. So I don't know if that was a change because I don't know if any of this has changed, but I think that's interesting. If it's not trackless, this is much more toward a less downtime on attractions type of thing.
Okay.
So that is one negative you can say about trackless ride systems is they do go down quite a bit more.
So, and then some of the Imagineers were talking about what it's going to be like on the attraction. So you're invited to the casita as part of the celebration. You enter the house, you board the vehicle, and it's supposed to represent different pieces of furniture.
I want to get on the couch and lay down. They showed a couch. I'm like, can we lay down on this?
Assembled by casita to carry you through the rooms. supposed to feel like this house is alive, obviously, because that's how it is in the movie. So renderings that details how you move through the house, eventually ending upstairs in Antonio's room. And so you end up in his room, and it's a rainforest with a bunch of animals. There are more than 50 represented inside the attraction, like a capybara receiving a hair trim, a toucan, and a donkey.
Sure. Why not?
So there's some information there for you. Yeah.
Now, they didn't say this, but again, they gave, what did they say, 28 for this?
So they didn't, yes,
but
essentially.
I think this is another one that is going to open in sections. Because the Indiana Jones is going to be done before Encanto, because that's his, I mean, it is
They're not making that from the ground up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a rescan. It is not, it's an in-depth one, but I think that's going to be ready to go before everything else is. So I think that part opens, and then the other part opens after the fact. I think it's another approach to this.
Maybe they could also open the Carousel attraction, which is also in the Encanto section.
They could,
if
it's going to be open in time, which I'd imagine the Carousel is not that complicated to build.
No. And we did get more information about that one, and the official name is El Carrusel de la Animalitos, the Carousel of Animals, basically. 22 hand-carved animals of familiar characters that were shown in the Imagineering Pavilion. So they've got some Bugs Life characters in there as well, which is fun. Like a caterpillar, the caterpillar guy.
I
saw
him? Bugs Life once. But...
Well, it's from the attraction, like
right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's kind of fun to use like Disney characters and that makes sense. But they could have that one.
They even made a joke about merchandising was going to love that, and I was just like,
oh,
who knows what they're going to do with that?
No.
But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing that they will open in sections because the Animal Kingdom desperately needs help, and if that ride is open for everything else, you're gonna be like, open that thing up and start it up. So again, I'm just curious as to when these things start opening, in my opinion, in sections, what is the marketing? Because they're going to have to make it really clear that what's available and what's not, because there are still people that show up to Disney World looking for Harry Potter. I just want to point that out. When you're talking about the normie crowd, you could have a lot of people showing up to these lands and being like, where's the door coaster? And they're like, oh, it's not open until next year. And people being very upset because of that. Now, I don't know. That's the one thing about this that gets kind of interesting is that messaging of how they go about that when they if and when they do open these partially.
Yeah. That'll be interesting.
And again, does it pull people in? Like, I think it will help Animal Kingdom, obviously, especially if Indiana Jones opens. I think that's a bigger draw than Monstropolis with a show and some restaurants. You know, I think obviously new attractions will really pull people in, so that will help there. But yeah, so we did get more on that a little bit there. Nothing too surprising. And those are the things that, you know, we kind of guessed and got right. Now, I will say the Spaceship Earth thing, I was surprised that they announced that, because I felt there was a decent chance of it, but I was just like, oh, I was right. I was happy to know, though, they didn't have it. It's seemingly based off of the show that they have proposed, which is time traveling teenagers stopping a cataclysm.
Right.
Like, please don't make this attraction that. But those are the things that we knew they were going to reveal that we saw coming. Of course, there were some surprises that they had in this showcase. And the first one, well, we'll stay in Animal Kingdom and talk about the big one I think people were surprised by was they announced that they're going to fix the Yeti on Expedition Everest.
They're going to fix it, which, awesome. Thanks for repairing something that's been, broken for 20 years.
I do think it's a little funny that your big D23 announcements, that one thing you're announcing is we're finally fixing something we should have done a long time ago. I liken it to this. The toilet's been broken for 10 years, and I call the family together. I'm like, guys, family meeting. And they're like, what? I'm like, guys, I'm going to fix the toilet. And they're like, thank you, Dad. Like, that's just what you need to do. There's no reason to make a whole big thing about it. Just do it. Now, it is interesting because Joe Rohde has stated before that this is not a simple thing to go in here and fix this, because apparently what has been said is you have to go in here and kind of go into the foundations of the mountain to do this.
Didn't they build it around the Yeti, like as they were constructing it?
To my understanding, he is part of the structural integrity of that attraction. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe they figured something out they can do, But you also don't have to have like an insane animatronic here because you're going by this thing really quick. And I think Disney did learn a really good lesson about when they're building attractions to incorporate B modes.
Yes. I will miss Disco Yeti.
Well, they referenced Disco Yeti in this because after this, they had a disco song to play. Like somebody played a disco song, but
I mean, again, it's not an ineffective effect though. It's the thing. It's like, yes, it's been B mode for 2 decades, but still, like, it'd be nice to see an animatronic actually move.
But you'll notice a lot of the things they did in this showcase, which I find interesting, which I think is a different approach to the parks, especially a lot of fan service. What have people been asking for? People wanted, oh, you didn't give us the Spaceship Earth thing. They announced for Disneyland that they're getting a Tomorrowland overhaul. Again, not many announcements, but based after like the 1960s type of version of Tomorrowland, a lot of this stuff was things people have been asking for that they're finally being like, here you go. I think that's a solid thing. The Yeti is one of those things like a lot of people are going to be happy if you fix the Yeti. So another thing that I think we partially got right, I had been saying before this, I think there's a decent chance that they refurb Figment. Because I think a lot of this stuff is they're kind of maybe trying to alleviate some of the things that people have been asking for after getting rid of the Rivers of America, Muppets, Muppet Vision 3D, and a lot of the changes that have happened in the park, especially Disney World the last 10 years. People have been screaming for a Figment, and that's what they announced, was that the Figment thing here. So I thought that was interesting to announce that, which again, I don't care personally much about Figment, but I know there's a lot of people, especially the Disney diehards. This is an easy win to get some goodwill from the fan base to redo Figment.
I agree. I don't necessarily care about Figment.
I don't care.
So I'm just like, whatever. But I mean, yeah, if this turned into a thing where it's like appeasing the fans, then you're right. It's like an easy win. Like, let's just say, okay, we're going to bring it back, give no details, no timeline, and leave it at that.
Again, we'll talk at the end here about maybe the different approach to this, but how are they going to follow this up information after this is going to be kind of telling. But I mean, listen, people are asking for it, you give them what they want. I don't know. I think Figment Ride's terrible. About anything's better than what's in there right now. The best part of that ride was the exit of that ride. All the things you could do in there and all that. And our kids never cared about Figment, so it's never anything that like I haven't ridden that ride for probably 5 years. But yeah, so that was definitely something the fans will be into.
Another thing that was a surprise announcement, which isn't really a big deal, but I'll also mention anyway, is they're added a Smuggler's Gambit experience from Fortnite into Smuggler's Run, which it really didn't change the ride that much, but you can like use a QR code to scan into the experience, like, and you play it like from your phone, and you have like you can get points and stuff. I don't really know anything about Fortnite, but that is something that is extra, and they already added that in, so. Like whatever. I can't do Smuggler's Run, so I'm just gonna leave that up to you if you want to comment on that at all.
You could get rid of Smuggler's Run if you wanted to, or make it more like Star Tours. I don't know. Smuggler's Run is great in theory. If you could just make it where people can't pilot it, I think it'd be a better attraction.
Yeah.
But they just added Mando and Grogu, and that didn't do much for it. So they have been trying with it. Even Josh Amaro came out and said people like Smuggler's Run, but they don't love it. So they have recognized that they kind of have an issue with this ride. So them themselves, is that a phrase to say that?
Them themselves
have stated as much about Smuggler's Run. So that's
I think they themselves is accurate.
I think that's what I said. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm from Missouri. Whatever. What am I supposed to do? All right, so let's talk about the things that we didn't get right here, that we had some guesses that they might do. Now, mind you, I think you had said as well, I've been pretty consistent. I didn't think they're going to have really major announcements. You're not going to see like major land announcements or anything considering what's under construction. You were probably going to get some refurbs and maybe some smaller things here and there.
Yeah.
So one of them being, well, the biggest rumor, funny enough, we didn't get Space Mountain refresh. At least for Disney World.
Yeah, they talked about Paris. They talked about Tokyo. They did not mention anything about Magic Kingdom. So that did not come about.
That one did not come about. We did not get anything about our Tomorrowland.
Nope, just Disneyland's.
Disneyland did.
Fair. They need it more than we do, so I'll give it to them.
Well, Walt's Original Park, you can make an argument. You need to fix that one up before you do other ones. Didn't get anything about the Wonders of Life Pavilion, which I had said I did not think was a real big potential. I think it was partially a potential they could do was a play pavilion tied in with Epic Games. Given that they did the Spaceship Earth thing, I don't think that is dead, though. I think that does come about at some point.
Yeah.
They just didn't reveal it this one.
Yeah.
probably the biggest disappointment, they did not announce the Galaxy's Edge getting the OT characters. Which when are you going to do this?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't there's no way it makes any sense. Both these lands in Disneyland and Disney World are the same lands. Okay. So you've admitted there's a problem with Galaxy's Edge, and you've done things to rectify it in Disneyland. And from people who've been out there have said the music in there, what they've done in there is fantastic. How would you then say that Disney World doesn't need the same thing when it's the exact same land? I still contend it's going to come. I'm just surprised, given how little details they actually provided on what they did announce for the most part, that they didn't just have a mention, it's coming to Galaxy's Edge in Disney World, even if it's like a year or two away. Or I don't know, grab an iPod and just start playing the Star Wars music. And that doesn't cost you any money. Like, if you did that alone, it would be a better land. I'm utterly confused on this.
Maybe we will get it, and they're just not going to announce it at D23. Maybe they'll just be like, okay, it's coming next week.
Yeah, but like, if you know it's coming, though, that's such an easy win to throw out there.
Who knows?
I
don't know.
I don't know either. And then also, I thought there was a decent chance of this. No announcement about a nighttime show at Animal Kingdom. Because
the water show in the Rivers of Light area.
Well, just something. Obviously, you're not going to get a fireworks show.
We've got the Tree of Life Awakening, so that still takes place every night. But it's also like the park closes before it's dark. So I don't really know what they can do for that.
It's not going to once Tropical Americas opens. So that's going to be no, there's no way you're going to open a brand new land. You're going to close the park at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that's going to be open, which means also, I think this does breathe new light into Pandora, because a lot of people have not experienced Pandora at night for years now.
Yeah.
And that is the coolest time to visit that land. And so I do think you're going to have extended hours at Animal Kingdom. It makes some sense to have some sort of nighttime show to anchor that, to kind of spread out some demand there.
I agree with that.
Doesn't mean they won't do it.
Yeah. Just not right now. Just not doing it right now.
Well, and this kind of goes into a little bit more of like, and is that all the announcements basically we're going to cover here?
The only thing that we missed from our predictions is the Haunted Mansion Lounge. They didn't say anything about that.
So that building, funny enough,
yeah,
that building that we're speculating about, is that a lounge, or could that be them moving the queue, which we had talked about? That was a potential. They're restrooms. I was like,
Is it restrooms in Villain's Land?
Yes, it's restrooms in Villain's Land.
But so close to Haunted Mansion. Maybe that's just like a nice link.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if it's restrooms in Villain's Land or Cars Land. Either way, there's restrooms right there. That's the building in particular people had questions about.
Okay.
I still think there's a decent chance here that, and I'm really happy to hear them say that Liberty Square is safe. I was like, okay, thank you for that. But you still have the problem with Columbia Harbor House doesn't have a harbor anymore.
Columbia House.
I kind of wonder if that could become a Haunted Mansion Lounge, because if you look at where that is at, you have Memento Mori right there. Then you have Haunted Mansion. That can become your like Haunted Mansion little square there.
So if they do that, they're going to have to, in my opinion, they're going to have to change like Diamond Horseshoe into like a quick service.
That they can do.
Because it can't take a big quick service like Columbia Harbor House, because it does serve a lot of people.
Except there's going to be a quick service in the Cars Land.
So you don't think they'll make it a Haunted Mansion Lounge for a while?
I don't. Well, they obviously didn't announce it. But my thinking is eventually this could become that, because if you have a quick service, and you're going to imagine they're going to, in the Cars Land area, you're going to have a quick service in Villain's Land.
Yeah.
You've got the Golden Horseshoe you could do something with there to turn that into quick service. I think it makes a lot of sense that you would put, if you're going to do a Haunted Mansion Lounge, it makes sense to do it right there.
At the very least, they can just re-theme it to a Haunted Mansion quick service.
Even that would be fine.
Which would make a lot of sense and make a lot of people happy. I just don't know if they would want to take the money and the time to do it. You know what I mean?
I think something happens just because currently it's like you have a harbor house without a harbor. That's just kind of weird. Yeah. Kind of my beachfront property in Illinois. Right. You're like, what? Like that's weird.
Yeah.
So I think that could still be coming here. But yeah, they didn't announce that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I will say, given the theme, and this was Josh Tomorrow's first D23.
Yeah.
We got a lot of fan service, which, again, I think Tomorrow is doing some very interesting things when you kind of look at the broader scope here. And say what you want about Josh Tomorrow. I don't believe it's a conspiracy theory to say that he's way more in touch with what the fans are thinking and saying than Bob Iger ever was. Bob Iger always seemed just out of touch.
I agree with that.
And apparently also Bob Iger got a window on Main Street in Disneyland that said chief architect.
Sure.
I think it should say chief acquisitions officer is actually what I think that should say. But I was just like, really? The Bob Iger glazing continues. But the Bob Iger glazing continues until morale improves. You're just like, okay. But from that, a lot of these announcements are interesting because given their fan service, given they were actually addressing rumors that have been out there, like being much more aware, I will just say, as a company, which is not something that Disney is necessarily known for over the years. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if what they're trying to do, and I've made the argument many times, it'd be better served to not treat D23 as like the Super Bowl of theme park announcements, because what's typically the cycle you see? They announce stuff, people get really excited, these things are years away, people start digging into concept arts, rumors start flying, people turn on it, and they're like, what is this? And then the concept art changes, they get criticism. You would be better off to kind of give people just a little bit. You don't give them too much because then there's still a little bit of speculation. I look at this as an energy thing. You look at, and I'm not saying it's perfect. Look what Universal does. They don't tell you anything. They start building and you're like, what's that going to be? And they're like, don't know. Even Epic Universe, while they were building it, they have a portal with a hand holding a wand, a massive hand holding a wand. Mm-hmm. And they did not officially say that was going to be Wizarding World. They're just like, I don't know.
Right.
But there's always going to be energy. So do you put the energy toward looking at all the details and then breaking that down and then people start like really like nitpicking this stuff? Or does that energy become, what are they doing here? What could this be? And much more of a speculative thing in terms of a positive direction. I'm not saying this is what they are doing. But what I'm saying is if this is part of your plan to be like, okay, we're going to do these expos, but we're not going to treat this as like, we're going to give you everything that's coming and really hype this stuff up. We're going to kind of update you on what's happening. It's more surface level. But to do that, you would have to really start weaning people off that teat in a way of just, not this one with the next one after that about the D23s. And will they have, like, for instance, one would assume Carousel of Progress is refurb. Why wouldn't they have announced that at D23? They announced that 3 months before D23?
No, was it that quick or that soon?
I mean, it wasn't that long before, realistically speaking, where you would assume, why would you not have made that announcement at D23? They didn't announce like Big Thunder Mountain getting a refurb at a D23, nor Buzz Lightyear. Like some of these things have not been announced at a D23. If there's some now this is why I'm saying some of these things that did not get announced, like Galaxy's Edge and things, I still think they're coming. Mm-hmm. I just don't think necessarily they're going to wait for a D23 to announce all this stuff.
It's possible. I mean, I also don't know if they've actually thought about it that hard.
About Galaxy's Edge?
No, about how they announce things and when. I think 2024 was such a huge year for announcements. I mean, they basically spent most of the Horizons experiencing talking about stuff that was announced in 2024.
Correct.
Tropical Americas, Piston Peak, Villains Land, and Monstropolis all were announced in 2024. So we were just getting more details about that kind of stuff. I think they shot themselves in the foot in 2020. Was it 1 or 2?
There was 2 of them straight that were blue sky.
Okay. The one that was really bad, the one that was everything was blue sky, nothing was announced. Everyone was really mad about that. So 2024, they're like, okay, here's all of this stuff. Here is everything. And they're just like, whoa, this is huge. Now the expectation going in this year was like, okay, we need more. We're going to have huge announcements. Well, it's like you can't have like these banner announcements every 2 years. Otherwise, like you're always going to be under construction, which they kind of already are.
Which they are going to be for the coming, both Disney and Universal for the coming decades.
True, but it's also like, like how many things can you redo at the same time without just like everything being closed all the time? I don't know. Like I just think that like they wanted to give information of stuff that they already announced and like a few things here and there. And then maybe in 2028 or, whenever the next one is, because it hasn't been announced when the next one is, they'll have more of things that are coming maybe in like the mid 2030s or something. I don't know.
Maybe. One thing I will say the difference, and I agree with everything you said there. you have a different CEO now. And one thing they've also coupled with in recent, ever since Tomorrow came on board, they have revamped their marketing department. They have a creative marketing director now. They've been making a bunch of hires here. I think under Tomorrow, they're much more aware of these things. I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but I've made the argument many times. I think they'd be better off, less headaches, to just not give people too much information. Just give them a little bit. I'm not saying they won't announce big things at D23, but it may be similar to this, where the next time they have a land announcement, like, we're doing whatever, X, Y, and Z, coming soon. And that's it.
Yeah.
And let people speculate. I think this is a direction I think makes way more sense for them than to come out here, present all this concept art. Because look at the Epcot overhaul. Look at some of these things and a lot of apprehension even around mentioning Spaceship Earth. And people, I think a lot of stuff when it comes to Epcot, it's like, we'll believe it when we see it. We've been down this road before. Yeah. And so you run into, I think you'd be better off under presenting or under promising and over delivering. Let people be like, oh, they're going to do I don't know. Let's just say they have plans to do like something Marvel related. Oh, what could they do? What do they have rights to? Blah, blah. That's the type of energy I think they would rather have than being like, oh, look at this concept art. Oh, what's this thing here? This doesn't make sense. And then you dig into the details. I kind of think they're going to go more surface level. And then as it gets closer, give you a little bit more details, but then let you experience it to dig into it. I think that is a better way to do these announcements than what they have done historically speaking.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know what will happen in the next.
Well, and I could see marketing people coming in and saying the same thing. I could then being like, okay, guys, you're causing yourself a lot of headaches here with the communication of these things. Just keep it surface. And the audience eventually will adapt to this. If you keep giving them cool new stuff, they're not going to really get too mad about this.
Yeah.
And give details when it makes sense to give details when something gets closer to being done. I wonder if that's what we can see. So I still think I still think we see Galaxy's Edge OT characters. Obviously, eventually, they're going to have to do something with Space Mountain. It's been 50 years. That thing's terrible condition. So I don't think that's off the table either.
Right.
I do think they're going to do some sort of nighttime thing in Animal Kingdom, but I don't know necessarily if they're going to announce these things on a stage. It may just be a Disney Parks blog announcement or a TikTok or something like that. They still get press. They can announce that stuff on a random Wednesday, and they're still going to get a bunch of attention for it.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily need D23s to get the attention for the announcement they're going to do.
I agree. I 100% agree.
I'm just saying. I think it's possible. Saying. But yeah, that was, I mean, involving Disney World. That was basically the announcements that they had.
Yeah.
Obviously, Disneyland had a few things there, and obviously we don't cover Disneyland very much. But I know some of the Disneyland. Pandora had some questions. It is interesting. Pandora gets announced by Bob Iger way too early back when he first came back into power, and then they actually came out and said they are prioritizing the Tomorrowland refurb over the Pandora. So they did have a model of Pandora out there for California, but they had nothing in the expo about it. I was like, that's cruel. Like you like literally like that just brings up more questions about that. But and they had some stuff overseas parks. But again, most of the stuff very surface level.
Yeah.
Like awkwardly surface level, like announcing like we're doing this, and then the people are like, you kind of hear the audience reaction, and it's like cut away to a song. You're like, that's it. That's all we get. So. That part, it was interesting how they revealed those, and if they'll keep that same format in the next few D23s. But
yep.
But all in all, is kind of what I expected. Nothing super groundbreaking. You weren't getting a lot of details outside of Villain's Land, which makes sense why they went into the details that they did. And I will say, out of all the lands they're doing, I said that one's got the most potential. That to me looks the most promising from what they actually did show.
I'm excited. That's the most excited of all the projects they're doing. That's my favorite.
And realistically speaking, they could, I'm not saying they will, but they could mess up these other lands, or those could be kind of like, they're okay. But if they nail Villain's Land, that's the thing that's like, they'll be fine. Mm-hmm. But they can't mess up Villain's Land.
And I'm sure they know that. They've
even said as much. About that. So
for sure.
I think, keep it simple. Don't go too crazy. You don't have to justify. You don't have to have a sob story about Maleficent. Just Maleficent's evil. Here's her castle. You run through it. You're like, wow, that's scary.
Wow, that was scary.
Let's go to the catacombs here. And, and I will say, I think there was some inspiration from Dark Universe looking at some of the stuff they were doing.
Maybe, possibly.
Well, we were even told by some Imagineers. They were going over there. Bruce Vaughn even talked about how he went to Dark Universe, how much he was impressed by it. So I definitely think there are going to be aspects of this land that are somewhat inspired by some of the stuff they did in Dark Universe at Epic Universe.
Could be. Yep.
Well, okay. Out of all of that, what's the top 2 you're most excited about?
Well, I just said villains. Villains is my favorite.
Villains.
And probably Indiana Jones because I like it. Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But Carousel of Progress too because I love that ride. So if they can only make it better, then that's awesome.
I'm not going to say worried. I'm very interested in what they're going to do with Carousel.
I'm not worried.
I hope it's great.
I'm not worried at all. Honestly, I want something different. Like I like Carousel of Progress and I like what we've had, but it is definitely time for a change. So I'm just excited, to be honest.
Those words many times of people, I get it. I'm not, listen, I think you treat it with, Walt worked on that ride directly. That's all I'm going to say. You don't have many of those things laying around that Walt directly had his hands on. I hope it's great. I hope they understand the gravity of the assignment on somebody. It's one thing to redo Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. That's one thing. And they improve that one. That's great. But when you're handling these historic attractions, I just hope they understand that this stuff, I mean, you've got Tony Baxter's and these legendary Imagineers that worked on this stuff. It's like, that's the bar. Meet the bar. At the very least, meet the bar. Don't try and get cute with it. Don't try and insert anything that you think like I personally no. Just what is the spirit of this attraction, and do it justice for that. That's what I will say. We'll see how that turns out.
Okay.
I would say Villains looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
not gonna lie. I agree. I like Indiana Jones a lot, so I think that one also is you'd have to go out of your way to screw that one up. So I think that one's got it has a really good chance of being really, really good. The other thing I will say, I feel like I'm going to be like this with the Cars area. I feel like I'm going to go in there and it's be like, this is a really great land. How does this make sense where it's at? But that just may be something that they don't really much care about. Because I don't think normies are going to care about that. That's the other thing, too. Theme park people are going to really dig into the details of what this was and the history of it. But normie crowds coming in with Cars, they just may not care. And that just may be the thinking here is like, hey, listen, it's for them. And it's like, okay.
It's one of those things where it's not going back to what it was. So that's like, here it is. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, but at the same time, like they used to take so much care and about where they put these things, like making them tie. I mean, for goodness sakes, they would have different colored trash cans, like just to the point of immersion where it's like nobody would notice this stuff, but they just went the extra length. I'm afraid in many ways we're past that now, but we're just not thinking, because again, like unless now they could have something that ties us in, and I think there's a really good chance they change Frontierland and kind of what it is more or less. But that's the one thing to me. I'm just like I unfortunately think we're past this point of like that extra length of immersion that we used to get.
I don't know. I hope you're wrong.
I think there's evidence that's kind of what's been going on in general. I mean, look at Moana, Journey of Water. I wouldn't say that makes a lot of sense in Epcot.
I know. It's still, I mean, it's one of those things though. It's like, again, we can criticize what decisions they make, all day long. But I feel like at this point, it's like, well, it's happening. Let's just, let's hope that, whatever they decide to come up with or create is what we're going to learn to love or love at the beginning.
Well, but I also think it's important to point these things out, like not just accept just whatever they do. Having pushback is good for a fan base. Like that is a good thing, because I think that keeps them on their toes. If the fan base just accepts everything that something gives them, whether it's Disney or any company, eventually they're going to be like, well, we can do whatever we want. They're not going to care. So I think having I think pushing back on some of the stuff that you think is important, whatever that is, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's part of fandom. So
and we're huge fans.
I'm never gonna be the type to just accept what you're giving me if I don't think it actually fits, especially with, and I've said many times, Disney set the bar in terms of what to expect from theme parks. It's your responsibility to maintain that status, that bar. And I've over the years with Imagineering and a lot of people that have left it, I think there's lots of question marks. Hopefully some of these newer projects, they do seem a little bit more promising. Maybe they really do get this. I hope that's the case. But I think understandably some of these Spaceship Earth, Carousel of Progress, just like, treat these very carefully, please. These are classic attractions for a reason. You know, we've seen them go in and kind of update classic attractions and not have the greatest results from it. And I just don't want that to happen with these. That would be a shame.
Well, that is true. Yes, it would be a shame.
But we will see on that. By the way, I think that's going to be it, though, for the show. Obviously, very heavy D23. But be sure to follow us on social media at Captain Magic everywhere. We are, especially Instagram, we're the most active there. We can also find daily videos from me over at Captain Magic. I'll have a lot of breakdowns about D23 and live streams coming up. So be sure to check that out on Tuesday, especially. We will be breaking a lot of this stuff down on theme parking, so be sure to tune in there. And of course, we have video versions of this show over at CTM Podcast on YouTube as well. And then we also, of course, so this week again, Tuesday, we did the Disney edition of the show. Thursday is going to be Universal, where we'll talk about Universal annual pass holder nights that we went to. And then next week, we'll go back to how it was before, where Tuesdays is Universal, Thursdays is Disney. So we just swapped it out this week because of D23. Then if you want some great theme park apparel, and now putting in full color and really crisp designs, and then you got some new stuff coming to the shop. Very, very exciting. You can go check out Capture the Magic Apparel, and that's our apparel company. We print things on very comfortable shirts. I'm insanely picky on the shirts that we print on. So they're very comfortable shirts, very breathable shirts. We print everything in-house. We design it in-house. We send it out to you. And so trying to maintain the highest quality possible on that. So if you go to ctmapparelco.com, use the promo code Halloween. You get 15% off your order. Plus, if you order $49 more, you get free shipping on top of that. So we still have all the classic designs, the best-selling designs in the shop. We're going to be adding some new ones in there, a lot of full-color ones. So it opens up to a lot of potential what we can do here. So Halloween designs and Christmas designs coming up. So again, ctmapparelco.com. Use the promo code Halloween and save 15% off your order. And that'll do it for the show. So thank you, everybody, for listening and or watching. And thank you, Jamie, for joining us.
Thank you.
And as Jamie always likes to say,
we will see you in the parks.
Bye.